I was thinking of you because every time that commercial comes on with all the athletes wearing all their custom suits, walking out, like you popped my head because you're the suit guy, and you talked about like knowing that and everything else, and I wish I was better. And sometimes when I look good, it's because I know people like you that I'm like,
right.
It would be like, what would Will do here? What would be the move? What would be the move? But I see those guys, and I'm like, I bet he watches that with a different lens than most people in terms of like how they're
how it fits. And it like I love it when a client texts me and it's like, hey, what should I wear to this? Or I'm looking at these two. Which one should I wear? And then it's like, okay, what are you doing? Okay, that. Okay, we should probably go that route.
Gosh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be able to be a part of that with people because, for me, the clothing aspect it serves a purpose, right? And if you're gonna wear it right and do it right. You don't need to be trendy. You don't need to be the fashionista, but you should look like you know what you're doing. You should look well put together. CEO, for example, right? He should know how to dress for meetings, for formal events. He doesn't need to be the traditional tuxedo or traditional suit and tie, but he should know how to do it right so that he commands respect, but also opens himself up to people too, right? The old school suit and tie, what you're watching on the Wolf of Wall Street and whatnot, it's like that's past. We're not necessarily doing suit and ties anymore, and that's fine. That may come back at some point. But you also shouldn't necessarily be the tech guy just wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, the Zuckerbergs with flip-flops on, I've been watching The Big Short, and it cracks me up because Christian Bale's character in there, listening to like death metal.
And the drums barefoot walking through the office.
I'm like, that's the level of success I want right there. To be able to do that wherever I go.
I was joking. I'm like, I want the level of success where I text Will and ask that question.
Yeah.
Like, that would be great. Like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. But I think like when it comes to appearance and what have you, it's like there's a level of situational fluency and then self-awareness. When you're looking at that, things become obvious very quick. Of like, who am I going here to serve? What is the situation? Like, what's going on? When you're thinking about that, and anymore, I think we're in the super casual.
Oh, for sure.
Like bend in like the curves of where fashion goes.
Well, everybody's working from home nowadays. And if you're not working from home, people are cool. I mean, they're cool with it because they want to be dressed comfortably, right? And I think that, again, we're talking about comfort right now. When have we gone too far there? But it's funny too because I think there's a movement of being more primal, which is funny because we're never going to be there again until the world resets itself, right? And even then, we may not be here to do that, right? But so I kind of find that movement funny, but at the same point, like getting back to a more natural state of being is healthier for everyone. Whether it be shoes, whether it be grounding, whether it be lowering stress levels, things like that. So,
well, I think
it's the hippie side.
But with like fabric, and I can appreciate it. But I think like with fabric, with like the technology and everything else, you can have your cake and eat it too. There's suits and stuff out there. There's things that you can put on. There's types of material for jeans and everything.
But if you're gonna wear a suit, you gotta go old school. The best fabric in the world is it's a mill that's owned by a French family, and they still do things the way they did 200 years ago.
Wow.
And that fabric has a different sheen to it than a machine-made fabric that stretches. It just it looks different, it feels different, and when you put that on, you have a different, like, you could take two suits, one that is a Joseph A. Banks, whatever blend they use and feels like sandpaper, and in a navy blue suit, you could put a navy blue suit on that's $30,000. And some people may look at that and go, I don't see the difference. Well, if you don't see the difference, you don't have a refined eye, right? But even then, I'd be very hard pressed to take somebody at face value if they're telling me that, because you can see the difference between a $300 Navy suit and a $30,000 Navy suit. Now, from a $10,000 to a $30,000, maybe not, depending on the fabric. But there's a difference in the feel. There's a difference in the kind of the luster of the fabric, and it's just and then fit. Fit is big. I'd rather see somebody with a less expensive suit but a better fit than going and buying a Tom Ford suit off the rack that looks like crap.
Gosh, well, the way you talk about suits is the reason I can only spend so much on a cigar or a bottle of wine or a certain whiskey where it's
Right.
like the rest, anything over this amount is going to be wasted on me. Like I just don't have that that refinement. But it's like when it comes to things that are obvious to me and like the stuff we've talked about today, it's like they're so obvious to me that they should be obvious to everyone, right? Yeah. It's just like when you talk about suits and like
exactly
and like movement, where it's like, coach, like I don't want to talk about this movement or whatever. I'm like, just tell them to get on the rower and row.
Yeah.
What? No, well, just do it. Watch. Yeah. And like it's just bananas. Like I'm like, how do you think that's how that's supposed to look? And I told the coach, I'm like, because it was obvious, right? Or like it was like you show these movements that we've done so many times, you think like it's almost pretentious to tell somebody
how to row.
Yeah, but it's like you tell me, you could talk me through fabrics for hours and I'd be like, everything you say would be an education.
Yeah.
Like I would not know, and I'm like, well, I probably should have thought of that before I did blank. I got one suit once. I didn't know you at the time, otherwise I'd gone through. I went, I'm like, I'm going to do this right. I'm going to wear suits. That's going to be my uniform.
Yeah.
This is several years ago, pre-COVID. And I got a suit from the group that I'm like, I want to see, how much does it cost to get a personally designed suit from top to bottom? And I'm like, I'm gonna explore it. Like, oh, it's too expensive. You know, when people say, oh, it's too expensive. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go find out for myself.
Yeah.
And I went in, and
usually if you're asking how much it is, you've already got to lose.
Yes, I'm like, you might be right, but I want to know firsthand.
Right.
And it was like not that bad. And I went and did. I do them for the Colts or whatever. I'm like, I don't really care. I did it, but it was like that suit is the best suit that I have right now. And like every time I wear it, I don't think it's as tapered at the bottom as I would like it, but I have another one that is, and that's the one I only get compliments on. Yeah. I don't get compliments on the one that I like the best, which is actually a little bit cheaper. I got it from Suit Supply. But that one's the one that's like so I keep it up. I almost want to put it like the Kingsman in there with like a special light on it to be like the bat suit. Like, what are you going to do? We're going to get after it today. But back to the you look good, you feel good. Like, what is wealth and everything else? Like, if you're listening to this, man, Will knows. If you don't know Will, you should know Will.
Well, yes, but at the same point too, like if you're clothing yourself in a suit to make yourself more confident, you've already lost the battle. You need to build that confidence prior to that.
Oh, that's wisdom right there.
I mean, because you do carry yourself differently when you've put a nice suit on, but you should learn to carry yourself that way regardless.
Well, and that's the one thing you'll notice that like our gym, and I talked to a lot of like when we're onboarding newer coaches, you can see that look at the cars in the parking lot. It doesn't matter if they're old. It doesn't matter if they're new, expensive, or less expensive. They're clean.
Yeah. And the people that are in the gym, they carry themselves a certain way.
You take care of yourself and you do it. And it's just like, that's right. My son always like, why don't you just get the good one? And I'm like, because I don't know if I'm going to respect it.
Yeah.
And that's like a lesson for him. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to buy this one, and if I use these headphones or whatever, then I can always upgrade. But I'm going to wear these out, and I'll get my value quicker if they're like cheaper headphones. Like, this is a stupid example. And like then it's like, what did you do? I'm going to get these AirPod Pros, the most top of the line one. I'm like, why? I'm like, I can't live without these now. Like now I know that I'm going to take care of them. I'm not going to lose them. I was the same way with sunglasses. I got a few pair of Oakleys. I lost them. I'm a big Oakley fan. And then I finally figured out I figured out a plan of how I'm not going to lose them. And it worked for a cheaper pair of glasses. And then I went back and I started balling out. And I'm like, I know how to take care of it again. But back to like your suits and everything else, it's like how you wear what you wear. What do you do? Do you know where you're going? Do you know? Are you thinking of yourself, or are you thinking of other people? Do you need to think of yourself in a situation? Do you need to think of other people in that situation? Where I go to a client site, I always ask like, hey, ask them what the dress code is. They're like, why? And I'm like, I don't want to be wearing a 3-piece suit if the CEO's wearing a sweatshirt. And like, oh well, our CEO wears a hoodie and just jeans, and I'm just like, so I'm glad we asked. You know what I mean? And then what do you do? Like I wear a untucked polo shirt and a nice pair of jeans and like my Air Force Ones. And I went in, like walked in. It's like, hey, G-Shock watch. Look, you got a tattoo on your arm. Like whatever. I'm like, good thing I didn't look like the corporate dude walking in versus I work with an accounting firm or a bank. I don't even have to ask.
You may put a 3-piece suit on.
Just go ahead and do it. It's like level up. Like, what do you want to be? I'm like, I get you. It's not saying like I'm pretending, but like I get your culture here.
Yeah,
I'm a guest in your culture. I'm a guest in your space. So I'm going to go
when
on
in Rome, right? Yeah.
And then I talk to people like, I'm going to dress how I dress no matter what. And I'm like, all right. And you can get so far like that. You know what I mean? You can get so far like that. Or if the way that you dress or carry yourself is obvious.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer. I'm going to engineering, whatever. I'm like, okay, that would make sense. I even joked once, just a quick aside, if you're hiring a software engineer or something like that, and they're dressed too good, or they interview too well, it actually should be a red flag.
Oh, for sure.
I'm like, why? What's this job? It's sitting behind a screen with not a lot of people looking at technology always.
If they're making eye contact with you, you got the wrong person.
I know, and it's like, but it's like when in hiring people, they think like you have this artifice of like what it's supposed to be like. So there's an example where even our what we're talking about can work against you.
Yeah, no doubt.